So, hello, my name is Alexander and I disagree with the essential assumption that anyone who speaks the language can teach it. So, I must admit that when I signed up for this course, I considered myself to be as good of an English teacher as any educator at school or even university professor. But even the first week of study has delivered so many blows to my hubris, and now I am convinced that not anybody who speaks the language can teach it as effectively as a well-trained educator. Poorly, yes, the passionate amateur will do, but the result will be mediocre and the process will take a lot more time. And in order to teach a language well, one must possess personal traits, skills, knowledge, which must come to him either through practice or be bestowed upon him by Mother Nature. But most of us are not gifted with these special skills, so we must learn them. So a true language guru must be able to present a language as delicious cake. I can't feed my students exercises and rules randomly or all at once. I must feed them one by one, striving to stay in the zone of the learner's proximal development. Also, a professional language teacher must not be afraid to look silly and theatrical during the lesson. Use expressive body language. It doesn't only make the lesson memorable, but also it breaks the ice and encourages learners to speak more, to practice more, not being afraid of a strict teacher. Because in the end, it's the amount of practice that really matters, and the mistakes may always be corrected along the way. Furthermore, a real language sensei, unlike amateur, has a well-developed skill of teacher talk. My teacher talk will probably vary depending on students' level, but some principles are applicable to all groups. For example, repetition of new information again and again, simplification of complicated unfamiliar grammatical forms, simplification of words. Clever is better than intricate, for example. I have to use signpost expressions to ground my learner in the present, transporting him to the task at hand, waking him up, and helping him to track the structure of the lesson. I have to use familiar cultural references that connect the lesson material with the learner's life experience. I have to elaborate to explain the words, or unfamiliar words with familiar ones, such as synonyms. And a good instructor should constantly ask a student questions about what did he understand from the lesson to track his real progress. And I shouldn't be afraid of an awkward silence here because it gives my student time to gather his thoughts, to formulate her questions. And during the lesson, it's important to always watch the student's eyes to identify a bewildered or confused or uninterested look. And another obvious, in hindsight, technique of successful teaching is that is overlooked by amateurs is scaffolding. It's a process of constructing a skill that implies 3 stages: building a model or a scaffold for a student to follow, guiding him or her through every step of construction, and finally letting him to work by himself or herself, testing how well did he understand and develop a practical skill. This is a recursive process. I will have to go back and back again and again to a previous stage with my students, build more scaffolds, or even to start from the beginning several times. So I hope this plethora of means of a true professional convinces you that not anyone who speaks the language can be as good in passing it on as a well-trained teacher. To sum up, I want to compare an amateur teacher with an unfortunate, uneducated parent who tries his best to teach his child proper language, but despite his best efforts, the child ends up speaking poorly. So language teaching, it depends. Thank you for your attention.